Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So, guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick confirmation if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation, everyone. So, my name is Neeraj Kedia, and I've been working in this IT industry for more than 13 years now. All right, so let's get started. So, our goal for today is to discuss on Tableau and its projects. That means what kind of projects we can execute in Tableau platform. And so first of all, we are going to start our discussion on Tableau, what exactly Tableau is, as one of the most popular BI tools available. And then we are going to discuss on the concepts of Tableau Desktop, how we can install Tableau Desktop's version, and then how we can get started with Tableau projects. So if we talk about data visualization, then the first word that comes to our mind is Tableau because it is one of the most popular BI tools, BI as in business intelligence tool. So we know that data visualization is one of the most important part of data analysis. And that's why companies again, and it has been one of the skills that data scientists have, they all have to master in order to communicate better with the end users. And BI is basically what business intelligence tool. Now here we have tools like we have Power BI, we have Tableau. So these platforms, they simply allow us to turn a simple plain data. The data can be in the format of a semi-structured data set or it can be structured data set. So using these platforms, we can convert those plain data sets into a visualized report so that we can have a better insight on the data, on how the data, on the trends that we can observe in the given data set, and how exactly the company is moving forward. So based on the visualization, we can allow the companies to take a better decision because they'll be having a better insight rather than just by looking at the data set in the format of rows and columns. And that exactly is what these tools help us with in making sure that we are able to connect to multiple data sources. We can perform the ETL activities as an extract, transform, load, and then we can work on creating multiple visualization reports based on the data set. And that exactly is what Tableau is, one of the most popular BI tools, as in business intelligence tool available in the market. All right. So we have to first of all prepare data with Tableau Prep. So we have a specific platform available by the name of Tableau Prep where we can prepare the data, where we can work on data pre-processing before we start with the analysis. And then we have Tableau Desktop where we can create multiple visualized reports based on data pointers that we have. And then we can share the insight with Tableau server online. So we can, if we are collaborating with multiple team members, then we can collaborate with them like can say in the easiest format possible by using the Tableau server online version. So first of all, if you talk about how we can install Tableau Desktop, then Tableau has two different platforms offered. So we can make use of Tableau Desktop, or we can make use of Tableau Public, or we can make use of Tableau Enterprise Edition. So when we are talking about Tableau Public, then again, Tableau Public is basically a community edition offered to us by Tableau so that we can use it for working on small scale projects and especially for just for the learning and for the training purpose. And if we want to go ahead with the enterprise version, then we have to procure the license for it, then only we can get started. So here we have to enter the email address with which we want to sign up on Tableau platform, and then we can define. And once we enter the email address here, we will be getting the download link directly available to us in the email through which we can go ahead and download Tableau public version. So once we have installed Tableau public in our system, we can open this up. So let's say here we can define Tableau public. So we can open the platform, and once we have successfully installed it, we will be able to see this kind of tool being opened up by the name of Tableau Public, so that we can, once we have opened Tableau Public, then we will be able to connect Tableau Public with any of the data sources, and then we can start working on the visualization part right away. So that's how we can work on installation of Tableau Public versions. And we have discussed that Tableau Public doesn't have any kind of licensing involved as it is offered as a community tool. So there's no license that we have to procure or we have to enter while installing Tableau Public. So to work on Tableau, we are going to use a sample data set. So here we have a sample data set by the name of global EU superstores that we are going to use for seeing how we can get started with the visualization on Tableau platform. So we now for opening up any Excel document, here we can click on Microsoft Excel as a file, and then we can choose a file. For example, here we are going to work on this global superstore orders for 2016. So we are going to open it up. And first of all, this is going to load the data, and then we can choose, suppose if there are multiple sheets in this Excel file, then we can choose which specific sheet we are looking for. So for example, we have multiple sheets, but we want to import, we want to create a visualized report only from one sheet. So as you can see here, we have one sheet for orders and the second sheet for people. All right. So let's say here, if we open up orders, we can see the entire data set available for orders. So here we have data in the format of row ID, we have order ID, we have order date, we have the order date, we have shipment date, we have shipment mode, customer ID, customer name, segment, postal code, city, country, region, market, the profit data we have for categories, the sales quantity, discount, profit, and order priority. So we have these different data sets available with us, and then we can use these data pointers to get meaningful insights by when we start working on creating visualized report from the given data set. And when we have multiple tables available with us, and if you want to create multiple joins as well, so we can simply pull the sheet and then we can create joins as and when required. So for example, suppose here we want to create a join for people and other and orders, then we can simply bring them together and then we can create a join and then we can define what kind of relationship we want to establish between these two different tables. We can easily define it. So let's say here we want to stick with just orders for now for seeing how exactly we can visualize this item. So here we have order sheet, and whatever data we are going to import, we can simply go to the data source and then we can see the entire data pointers available in the file that we have imported. So once we have this kind of data set with us, then we are going to start visualizing it. So for visualization part, we can navigate to the section which says sheet 1, sheet 2, and so on. So here we can navigate to the section. So here we have the link available. So from the Tableau Community Edition, we can get the access to Super Source Tales that we are currently working on. So once we download the file, now this is the same file that we are working on, so you can all get the access from here. So now to create a visualized report, we can come back to this section for sheets. So now this is an entire canvas. Now in here in the left sidebar, we can see the tables available. So here we can have here we have different columns available based on the sheet that we have imported. So we have imported one for orders, and in that order sheet, we are having city, state, country, product ID, product name. So these are what? These are the models and these are the data pointers here that we have to work on. So let's say as a part of the project, our problem statement is we have to find now company needs to find out which particular year had been most profitable. What exactly has been company's growth in terms of profit year on a year basis, right? Or they want to visualize what exactly has been the profit distribution among different categories and that too on a year basis. So for solving this kind of problem statement, first of all, we can pull the profit table. So here we have profits. So when we want to work on creating any visualized report, so here we can pull profit and let's say here we want to define this on the rows. So currently the profit has been visualized and now we want to see the profit distribution of first of all on the basis of year, right? So here we can define, here we have order date. So here what we have, here we have order date. So here we can simply mark order date. We can drag it and drop it in the column section, or we can double click on it. And we can see here the distribution of profit as per the current data, which has been split in 3 years, in 4 years, as in 2012, 13, 14, and 15, that has been plotted automatically. And if we focus towards the right, we can see we have different type of maps available. So, or we can not maps, but again different type of visualizations available here that we can choose from. So let's say based on the data pointers that we have selected, we can go for line graphs, we can go for the heat map, or we can see the tree map as well. We can go for the stacked area. So there are multiple type of visualization that we can go for depending upon the data pointers that we have selected. So for example, when we are working on any geospatial data, so there we can make use of the map section. For example, we want to plot the profit from different cities. So there we have internal cities. There is a geospatial data, right? Having its latitude and longitude defined. So there we can make use of the map section. So let's say here we have this data with us where we are seeing the trend in terms of the years, in terms of the year distribution, correct? Now we want to see the trend in terms of suppose multiple years. So now in year we have, now if we click on expand, then we can see we have data, we can split the date format in years and also in different quarters. So although in terms of years, we were seeing a steady growth, correct? That means if we remove the quarter section for now, let's say if we remove it, then in terms of the year report, we were looking at a continuous increase without a single drop or without having any kind of downhill, right? But again, if we expand the current data in different quarters, we can see the year for 2013 hasn't been that great because we saw a steady increase in the profits in the first quarter, but from second quarter onwards, the profit percentage increase has been really slow. Whereas the same thing has been observed in 2014 till the third quarter, and from third quarter itself, there was a steep increase in the profits. And in 2015, there was steep increase in profit from second till third quarter. So this quarter has been the most profitable for the company in the entire history for its 4 years of operations. And then there has been again a continuous increase even in fourth quarter as well. So that's how we can visualize the performance on different quarters as well. And then we can also segregate this further based on other parameters. All right. So now, if you want to segregate this based on year by years basis, so we also have something called as color, size, label, detail, tooltip, and path. So here we can segregate multiple pointers based on these paths. For example, let's say here we want to visualize the performance of each and every year on a device, on we can say on a device basis. Then we can easily do that by using the year-wise data set, by using the year-wise data set as and when required. So let's say here we want to segregate it based on the year-wise years data set. So here we can simply drag the shipment year. For example, so here, so let's suppose we want to visualize this based on the performance of different years, and we can easily visualize it depending upon the requirement. We can easily visualize it. So for example, currently we are looking at data set for different years and that too in different column section, right? So if we want to place the section for year under the color parameters, and here we can see the same segregation, but now it has been presented in different colors. So now instead of using different years, for example, again, if you want to segregate this further, we can again segregate them to all together based on the quarter, based on the month, as and when required. For example, suppose here we want to visualize them based on the month. So for different years, we can see how they compare as compared to each year based on different months. So here the entire performance has been recorded, and we can see the period of from June till August, we have observed we have observed the least amount of profit for that year was mainly recorded between June and August. And same way, if we talk about the best performance that has been observed from August till November itself. That's how it is structured for different years. And this is something that can be derived from the current data point, right? So we can segregate, we can visualize all the pointers exactly as per the requirement. So now let's say if you are looking to see the performance on a year-to-year basis. So for example, if you want to see the performance on a year-to-year basis, then we can simply go ahead and project the year-wise performance. So now if you want to go ahead and perform the year-by-year research, we can see year-by-year profit growth, and here we can right-click anywhere on this particular graph. And now suppose we want to plot the year-by-year growth, especially in terms of profit. So here we can refer to sum profit. Here we can click on quick table calculation, and here we can find the difference, the percentage of total, the rank, percentile, moving average, the compound growth rate, or we can also visualize this as a part of year-over-year growth. And we can see in terms of year-over-year growth, we can see the best performance has been recorded mostly for the selective year, and that too which has been for 2013. And in terms of year-over-year growth, it has recorded 64.3% year growth, and that too as compared to the other one. And the highest growth almost of 285% was recorded back in July, and that too in year 2030. Whereas if you compare the year-over-year growth, then hasn't been that great for the other years as compared to 2030. So 2013 saw a really, we can say, good job in terms of the year-wise performance, and same way, the least year-on-year growth has been recorded back in 2014 August, where the company saw a loss of, like I said, it was less by almost 30% as compared to the previous year. So this is what we can observe as a part of year-over-year growth, and so that we can answer the question of which year has been most profitable for us. And plus, let's say we want to see the segregation based on the region, or we want to add multiple other parameters as well. So here we can add the parameter, suppose as tooltip. So suppose if we see, if you want to visualize certain things on as a when we hover over any of the segment, then we can simply visualize it as a part of the market altogether, or we can say as a part of tooltip. So that's how we can get started by visualizing things on Tableau. And same way, if you want to have it, if you want to visualize some other data pointers, for example, here we can click on create a new sheet by clicking on this option which is available in the bottom left corner. And here we have a new sheet with us. So now let's suppose if here we want to work on some other data pointers. For example, let's say here we want to see the performance in terms of the number of orders in terms of the actual count, and we want to visualize this number of orders against the country, or we can say against the region that we have. So we can simply use region. Now this data is not something which is suitable for plotting as a part of bar graph. So now I suppose if you want to use a map for it, so here we can go for the map based data, and then we can start visualizing it. Or we want to create a different set of data. For example, here we can make use of this kind of packed bubbles to see this kind of data being visualized. Let's say here we don't want to see it based on the region. Let's say here we want to see it based on the city data itself. So here we can simply define city, and that's how we can visualize it one by one. For example, suppose here we want to see the performance based on cities. Now, we know that this is something that is not going to be feasible for plotting it as a part of cities, right? In terms of the bar chart. So you can see here, this is a data type that is not meant to be visualized as a part of bar graph, right? So here we can make use of the map section, and then using the map, we can easily visualize the same data on top of a map offered by the OpenStreetMap engine. So here we can see here we have plotted the entire data set in terms of the order count. And now suppose if you want to see not the order count, but we want to see the profit distribution. So here we can pick up profit from the tab, and here we can define as a pointer. So now currently we are defining the profits. For example, now if we visualize, if we hover over any of the cities here, we can see what is has been the profit distribution for us for different cities that has been plotted on top of a map, depending upon the data that the given data type that we have selected. Same way, if you want to add multiple other tooltips, for example, let's say here we want to see the report in terms of ship date. So here we can simply define ship date, and then we can see when was the ship date for these different countries in terms of orders being delivered. All right, and then based on the other data pointers, we can choose a type of visualization as per the requirement. All right, so this is how we can start visualizing things in Tableau Desktop. And now if we have different problem statements that needs to be completed, that needs to be solved, then we can make use of the same type of visualization depending upon the data that we have the access to, we can visualize it accordingly. So we can also create a complete dashboard as well, depending upon the requirement. So for example, let's say here we want to see the detail for the market and what kind of discounts have been offered for what kind of markets. So let's say here we can see which market is going to had the highest amount of discounts being offered. And now if we want to segregate them further, we can define the measure sum, the average, and the minimum discount offered, the maximum value of discount that was offered. The maximum discount was 90% and that was recorded for Europe. And then if you want, we can create a heat map out of it as well so that we can so that we can quickly visualize the type of discount being offered in different markets globally. We can define the type accordingly, depending upon the requirement. Same way, if you want to see the distribution of the quantity that the team has shipped across different categories, then we can simply visualize it based on the category and the shipment. And now we also want to see the performance in terms of profit as well. Then we can also include the profit distribution as per the requirement. So for example, let's say in terms of color scheme, we want to see the entire profit distribution, or we want to keep it as a part of tooltip. That means what exactly has been the profit for different categories that we want to visualize, then we can do that easily. If we are looking to create a pie chart, then we can use a pie chart option, and then we can use this pie chart to create the entire report accordingly. And if you're looking to create a mobile dashboard for it, so here we can do that easily by creating a separate sheet. And if we are looking to find some kind of trends, for example, before we take a look at into creating the mobile dashboards, we can find the trend based on the given data pointers. So for example, let's say here we can choose the pointer as sum, and we had seen that if you want, we can generate some forecast as well based on the current pointers that we have selected. And then if you want to define certain other matter, or we can say this is certain other attributes, then we can also do that. For example, let's say here we want to find the trend line. So here we can go for trend lines, and then we can easily predict the trend lines based on the profit ratio it has been selected for the current metrics that we have chosen. Same way, we want to visualize the trend lines for, suppose, let's say, for this year and that too at this given time period. Then here we can define trend lines that's going to be projected for different segments. So you can easily project, okay, what exactly is going to be the growth rate as per the data that has been recorded here. Same way, if you want to create a forecast, so here we can create a forecast based on the data pointer that has been selected. And then if you want to mark the label, we want to apply multiple other filters, then we can do that as and required. Same way, if we want to, so let's say once we are done, we can save this entire document to Tableau Public so that we can easily share the reports with other Tableau Public users. And that's why we can directly upload it to Tableau Public server. We can do that, or we can save it as a Tableau project that can be opened up later on as and when required. And if you are going to create, we want to connect to a new data source, then here we can click on new data source, and here we can define the text file, the JSON file, or we have a database that needs to be integrated, then we can also do that easily by choosing the right set of data sources. It can be any data source, it can be any of the ERP tools, it can be any of the CRMs, any web analytics softwares, or this can be any third-party integrations that is supported well by Tableau. So for creating mobile dashboards, here we can click on dashboard, we can click on new dashboard altogether, and here we can define if you want to include sheet 1, we want to include sheet, for example, here we want to include sheet 1. Along with that, we also want to include sheet 2 in here, or for example, in this section, wherever we want to include the sheet, we can define the sheet section. Suppose we want to make a dashboard where we can help the team in visualizing two different components. Now here and here we can define the sheet name whenever we are working on any sheets. For example, let's say here we want to rename the sheet name. Then here we can define sheet name that's going to be populated for this current graph. Suppose here we can see, here we can showcase them year over year graph for the profits. So here we can define the year over year graph for the profits, and same thing is going to be updated back in this graph as well. Same way here we want to see the profit distribution, and we can allow this entire dashboard to be completely interactive, so the users, they can interact with all the data pointers that we have selected so that they can get the exact insight they are looking for based on the selection. And if we hover over any of the segment, we can see the report in terms of the date and the difference in profit as compared to the previous year in terms of exact distribution. And then we can, now once we are done, we can define the layout for the current project or for the current dashboard if you want to keep it horizontal, vertical, depending upon the data graph that we have chosen. So let's say here we want to keep it horizontal, or we want to keep it, we want to also give it the option for navigation as well, so that they can easily navigate from one point to the other. Then we can bring in the navigation. So if they click on next, then they are going to navigate to the other section as soon as possible. And now if you want to give them the options, we want to add some text component, we want to add some images to it, or we want to also integrate multiple other extensions, then we can easily do that. So once we have integrated these kind of extensions, then once we are done, we can choose the layout as well for the entire report that we are going to generate. We can find the position, the floating, the packaging part, and then once we are done, we can go ahead and upload this to the Tableau public servers so that we can visualize, we can start helping the team in visualizing and using this mobile dashboard as and when required, depending upon data pointer that we have selected. So as we are closing into almost time now, so let's say we wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for joining and have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.